everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark. And if you are not new here, this background is probably new to you. This is a shoe rack that I just built last week and I'm so happy with all of the work that I put into it and the result. These are all my inventory shoes and I think it's just so much more aesthetic than the way I had them before. So if you're new, this is a new setup and welcome. So let's get right into today's video. Today we are going to talk about things that you should probably stop doing in your listings on Poshmark. I'm just going to go through and add a picture to the screen of a listing that I came across on my Poshmark feed and kind of talk about why there's a lot of things wrong with the picture and what can be improved. And so if this is something that interests you, this is helpful for a lot of people that are looking to improve their listings. So if this is something that interests you, definitely keep watching and make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any other future reselling content that I do. But without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Okay, so the first picture that we were going to talk about is this picture here, where the item is wrinkled and it doesn't really look that good in the picture. It could definitely use a good steaming, and also it can use a nice smoothing when the item has been laid flat. I personally don't recommend laying the items flat on the ground. I find that doesn't really give the best portrayal of the actual image or the item, but sometimes that's the best way to do it. So I totally, understand doing that, but I think if you're going to do that, you need to make sure the item is steamed and also make sure you get rid of all the wrinkles, because that definitely takes away from the item and makes it look a lot less presentable. So those are two things that I would change about this listing that could definitely make it sell so much quicker. And also, real quick on this item as well, the lighting is not great either. So definitely make sure your lighting is good. I can't recommend that enough. Either use good daylight outside or use a professional light or whatever you have, ring light or anything like that, to shine light on the item to make sure that the item shows even colors throughout. Because if you have a white top like this one is here in this picture and part of it looks like a different color white than the other part, that's not great and that's not going to help the item sell. Okay, so this next item, the background could definitely use some work. The background is very noisy in this item, in this picture, and also the shirt itself is kind of situated really funny. It's kind of like to the side a little bit and it looks a little dark. So a lot of things that I would change about this listing in particular. One, I would white out the background using an app called Photo Room or any other photo app that you have that removes the background of things. I think that goes such a long way, and I think it's definitely important to do that, especially when you have a noisy background like this, because it just really takes away from the item itself and makes it really hard to tell like what's going on in the picture. And so I just don't think having any kind of background with patterns or anything like that is going to help you sell the item. So I recommend just whiting out the background in every photo. It'll be so much better than having a background, preset. And then the next thing I would do is I would definitely make sure that the item is more straight on and the camera angle is directly in front of you, because this is kind of taken to the side, so it kind of makes the item look a little bit strange. And again, this just doesn't look that professional, and it's not like what you would see on a company's website either. So I think that could go such a long way to just make sure that the image is more straight and also make sure that the background is whiter. And like we said in the first tip, to make sure that you have good lighting. That goes such a long way. Okay, so this next picture, there's so many things that I wanted to talk about when I saw this. I just had to screenshot it. So first off, I would use the rotate feature button on this picture because the item is laid sideways, and I don't know, that just doesn't really catch my eye when I'm looking at the item. It's kind of strange to me that it wouldn't be like upright. So there is a new feature that was released last year on Poshmark, which is the rotate button. So you could rotate when you're uploading the pictures to the listing, and you could make it upright. So that would be the first thing that I would do. Second, again, I would white out the background because the background is very noisy, there's so much going on, and it just takes away from the item. You have like a carpet, you have a rug, you have background stuff. It's just too much. So just white out the background and turn the image, and this listing could go so much further than it would be the way it currently is. I find that if like an item looks strange in pictures, I myself am not going to want to buy it, and I know a lot of other people are going to be the same way. So turn the image and white out that background, and this item could sell so much quicker. Okay, so this next listing you may think looks great on hand, and I agree, the picture itself looks great. However, there's one thing in particular about the title that I really think people should stop doing on Poshmark, because it's not helping their items sell, and it is putting new with tag or NWT or new without tag or something like that in the title, because that's not really helping the item sell, because you fill out that the item is new with tag on the bottom part when you make the listing. So therefore adding it in the title just doesn't really provide any details that aren't already there. And also it's making the item less searchable, because if you say new with tag and then the item's name, that's not going to come up in the search when people search for that item in particular. So I always recommend getting rid of new with tag out of the title, and if you really feel the urge to put it in there, put it in at the end. Don't put it in the beginning, because again, somebody can see that the item is new with tag right below. It says new with tag, and so it's already obvious to them, and you're taking up room in the title that can be used to describe the item in detail, and also it's taking away from the search of the item. So I personally recommend getting rid of new with tag or new without tag out of the title. I don't think it serves a lot, and I see so many people do it, and I just don't think it's really helpful and necessary. And again, I think there are so many other better ways to utilize the title, and there are so many other descriptor words or brand names or colors or sizing that you could add into the title instead of that, that's going to help the item sell so much quicker. And if it's hard for you to come up with how to title an item, just think about how you would search an item. You would search maybe if you had the brand, if you had the style, or like, you know, the pattern of the shirt or the color of the shirt or the size. You wouldn't necessarily type into Google new with tag item such and such, because if you wanted to filter on any given platform such as Poshmark, you could just filter the listings by new with tag, and then that way you don't even have to like type it in. So I think, again, it goes such a long way to just get rid of new with tag out of the title, and you'd be surprised at how much this could actually really help your items sell. Okay, so this next picture, it was a little bit strange to me when I first saw it, because I was thinking that maybe they put the wrong picture in the beginning, because the item is kind of like you're only seeing part of the item at the top and you're not even seeing the full item, and the lighting is weird, there's wrinkles in the item. So at first I thought maybe they just messed up, but then as upon looking through the description, I didn't see a full shot of the item. So that right there is a big red flag to me, and that is the next tip, is to make sure that the cover photo has the entire item in the picture. So if you have a super long dress, then definitely use that pinch out the zoom feature that Poshmark has recently added to the app. It's so helpful, and it makes sure that you could get the full length of the item in the picture. Because if you get half of the image, it's like it doesn't really show the image very well. It doesn't show what it is. So if someone's looking at it at first glance, they can't tell how long the item is. And in this case, this is just a shirt. It's a button-down shirt that could easily be fit in the whole picture in the frame, but this seller decided to not include those details of what the entire shirt looks like. So I don't know how I would feel. Like, I wouldn't feel really comfortable buying a shirt that I can't even see the whole thing, because you don't know if there's any other flaws on the item, you don't know what the bottom looks like, you don't know if there's like another pattern on the bottom. And so I just highly recommend making sure at least that cover photo has every like the whole entire item in it, and then the other photos later on can show close-up details of what the pattern or the texture looks like, or the colors or stuff like that. But the cover photo is so important to be the entire item, because that's what's going to draw the customer in. And again, make sure that the background is whited out, and also that the lighting is good, because the lighting is a little bit weird in this picture, and I can't tell if it's like a muted pastel yellow or if it's supposed to be a brighter yellow. So lighting, making sure that the item fits completely, and also whiting out the background are the three things that I would change about this in particular listing. This next listing is, again, something that I would change stuff about the title and also the picture. So for the picture, I would change that it's laying flat on the ground, and I would hang it up. I think hanging it up makes it look a little bit more presentable. That's not the biggest issue that I see with this listing, but that is something I would change myself. And also I would change that there is not a whited out background, because again, goes such a long way. The next thing that I would change about this listing in particular is the title of it. So the title is very vague. It just says the North Face jacket. Okay, so how does somebody that's searching this item know what they're getting into? And they just say the North Face jacket, because there are so many different types of North Face jackets out there. So I think it's so important to be a little bit more specific. Maybe if you know the style name, or if you can describe it maybe with more detail. Describe if it's a fleece material or a velvet material or like a faux fur material. There's so many different options. You could say pullover jacket, you can say zip up jacket, describing the size of it. Anything else that's, you know, less vague than just saying the North Face jacket, I don't really think that provides a lot of detail for the buyer, and that really makes the buyer have to click on the item to find out details of the item. when right off the bat, like, it could have been solved so much quicker if they just had that in the title. So utilize the space that they give you on Poshmark in the title, and make sure that you use every space that you can to describe the item, because that is going to help the item sell a lot more. Again, someone's not really going to just type into Google the North Face jacket to find the jacket that they're looking for. That's not going to help them find it. So make sure that you're keeping in consideration when you're titling your items, make sure that you're thinking, okay, what would I search for in Google? And that should help you come up with the title a lot better. Okay, so this next listing, again, is something that I can see the title and also the pictures being updated. So let's start with the pictures. So the picture, again, is something I mentioned prior, which is making sure that the full item is shown in the picture. This one just kind of looks like the middle of the item is being shown, and I can't tell if it's a dress or a robe or something else, or top even, because it's only showing the middle of the piece. So that right there is problem number one. Second, the background is not whited out. As you can see, that's our ongoing theme of all of these. It's just that the background is not whited out. And again, Google gives priority to those listings that have whited out backgrounds. So I recommend doing that because it really makes such a difference. The next thing about the picture itself that I would change is getting rid of the border. So this person has built in a border to their picture. They used one of the filters on Poshmark, which I highly recommend not using. I don't think the filters on Poshmark really add anything to your pictures. In fact, I think they actually take away from your pictures. And using this border is really not helping this person at all. Just make sure that the picture is the professional square that they allow, and don't round off the edges, because that doesn't look that professional when one of your pictures is like that and the rest aren't. And also, I just don't recommend using the filters because they kind of distort the colors a little bit, so you can't tell exactly what color the item is supposed to be. The next thing that I would change about this listing is the title. The title is using descriptor words such as beautiful. I don't think using descriptors such as beautiful or something like that is really that beneficial. It's kind of like using new with tag in the title. It just doesn't add any value at all. And everyone's opinion on what is beautiful is very different. So if you're saying this is a beautiful dress, well, my opinion of a beautiful dress may be something very different. So it's not helping anyone decipher if they should buy the item or not. And again, it's not really a good descriptor word. People like to use it all the time because they don't know how else to describe the item. But describe the color, describe the texture. I could see this being described as like silky or satin-like, or, you know, something like that, where it's a lot more descriptive than using the word beautiful. So definitely make sure that your choosing of words and your adjectives is only describing the item itself, and they're adding value. Add the color, add the textures, add the sizing, things like that. Don't add beautiful or stuff like that, because that's not helping sell the item at all. And again, it's not very searchable. So this next thing that I would not do, and I've talked about this in a prior video, but I still see so many people doing it, and so I wanted to talk about it again, is to not use emojis in the title. So this listing looks great from, first glance. The picture looks nice and it's a white background and it just looks great. But then when you look at the title, there's emojis in the title and there's descriptor words in the title that have nothing to do with the listing itself. So this is not helping the item sell, because when somebody's looking for this in particular hat on Google, they're not going to search emoji, they're not going to search new or something like that. They're going to just search for the item in particular. So adding new to the picture, adding emojis, that's not really helping at all. And in fact, actually, when I see people say new in their listings, I always kind of wonder, because all your listings should be relatively new. And I mean, because I add 5 things a day, and I'm sure other people add every single day as well. So if you're saying new, what does that really mean? How new is that listing in particular? And for the ones that don't have new, are they old? And are you changing, them out and stuff? So I don't know. I just get a little bit confused when I see the word new, because I'm not sure if it's something that just released or what. But I just don't think it's adding any value at all. And I think it would be so much better to not have those emojis and or new in the title. And also, going along with the emojis, I don't think it's helpful to have host pick in the title either. A lot of people like to promote that their item was a host pick to a Poshmark party. If you don't know what Poshmark parties are, I can link to the video that I talked about Posh parties and what they are. But during these parties, you get such things called host picks. And this is basically someone picking your item out in particular to get extra eyes on. And so that's what they call it, a host pick. And it's basically the people that are hosting the party that pick your item to shine in a separate filter throughout the party, so it gets more eyes on the item. But I think when you put host pick in the title, it really doesn't help anything. And actually, I find that whenever my item has been host picked, it has not sold, and I actually end up having to relist it. So I just don't think it's helpful. Any item can get a host pick. It doesn't have to be a good item. It doesn't have to be a, expensive item. Any item. And it's really whoever the host pick wants to pick items from. So this really doesn't add any value because the host picks are so random, they don't really mean anything. And I used to believe back in the day that they did mean something. I used to think, oh, my item was host picked, it must be a really good item. But honestly, that's not true. And it's hard for people to understand, but they really don't mean anything. And so I don't think adding host pick in the title is going to help the item sell. So if you do that, definitely stop doing that. It's not helping, and a lot of people don't really care if it was a host pick or not. So yeah, just remove it. It's not helping. And this one goes off of the last one that we just talked about, but don't put new with a bunch of exclamation points in the title. Not helping. I had to read more to figure out what the item actually was. So get rid of that. Use that space for more valuable things. It'll be so much better to do that. Okay, so this next one actually kind of made me laugh a little bit. I did my research and I just had to add this one in because I thought it was funny, but I also thought it was crazy at the same time. So this person decided to list a Taylor Swift CD from 2006, and I actually probably have this CD at my house. I was a huge Taylor Swift fan when I was a kid, I still am, and so I collected all these CDs, and we all know that CDs aren't very popular anymore. People don't really have CD players, and you can get everything streamed to your phone. So CDs are not the most rare finds, but certain CDs are, and this seller in particular decided to put that this CD was a rare CD and that they wanted to sell it for $110. It is not new. You could clearly see that it's open and it's not new. But what shocked me the most is when I did a Google search on this CD in particular. You can find it all over Google for 10, 15, 20 at most. So what I'm trying to get across is make sure that your pricing is fair. Because if you price your item at $110 and say that it's a rare item when it's easily findable on Google and sells so much cheaper, you're probably not going to sell that item very quickly. People aren't going to want to shop from you because they're going to think that your prices are way too high. So make sure that you're keeping in mind what the other prices are. Make sure you're, have a comparable price, and make sure that you're not overpricing because that's not going to help you sell items, and people don't really like that. And especially don't say an item is rare if it's not really rare, because that's kind of misleading. And like I said, it's definitely not rare because I was able to find several listings for this in particular CD on Google for a way, way, way lower price. So make sure that your pricing is good. That's going to help. So we talked about this one before about not putting host pick in the title, but this person in particular put it in the title. They put some emojis in the title to describe the item. They had a background going on. So I would change a lot. I would get rid of the background. I would make sure that the background was whited out, especially for a bag that looks this nice. You definitely want the background to be white so it pops more. And get rid of host pick, get rid of emojis, get rid of all that from the title. And again, I think this item would sell so much quicker. Okay, so that is all I actually wanted to talk about today. I know that was a lot, but I think I'm done going through Poshmark for now. I think I went through enough listings. I can definitely make another video in the future if this is something that you like. So definitely like this video if you do, so that way I know to make more like this. I always find it so interesting when I go through my Poshmark feed to see what people are listing and how they're listing. And I think it's so important to make sure that your listings are good, especially that cover photo and that title, because that again is the first impression that people see. So if this is not good, people are not going to want to click on the item and buy from it. So making all these changes to your listings can definitely help them sell a lot quicker and make you have a lot more success on the platform. If you want to see a video on secret features that you should definitely be using on Poshmark, you can click right here. This is helpful to determine how to cancel an offer, how to cancel an order, how to copy a listing, and there's so many other great tips that I talk about in that video. So if you want to click that video, you can. And also if you want to see more things that you should and should not do on Poshmark, you can click right here. But until next time, I'll see you then.